Nettles is still my favorite dragon seed, and if House of the Dragon doesn't use her, I may cry. No, this is something else. In the A Song of Ice and Fire books, you've got dragon riders descended from old Valyria, and the Valyrians did something to strengthen their bond with their dragons. Both in-universe and out, there's a persisting idea that only those with the blood of the dragon can command a dragon. Let's dispel this idea as much as we can. In A Dance of Dragons, Quentyn Martell tries to claim one of Daenerys' dragons and seems to think, with his Targaryen ancestry, this will be easy peasy lemon squeezy. He gets within a dragon's breath of Rhaegal and finds out how not easy peasy lemon squeezy it is. Well, Quentyn doesn't have that much Targaryen blood. The Dornish royal family has Targaryen blood because Daeron II's sister married the Dornish prince Meryn, and now all the Martells have a little bit of Targ in them. That was just over 100 years before the events of A Game of Thrones. By the time Quentyn dies, there's barely a teaspoon of Targaryen blood in him to help him claim a dragon. Then we have Arya Targaryen, great-granddaughter of Aegon the Conqueror. She's got, well, a lot of Valyrian blood. Aegon married his sister Rhaenys, their kid Aenys married Alyssa Velaryon, also from an old Valyrian family. Their kids, Aegon and Rhaena, had Arya Targaryen. So the previous 3 generations, not a drop of non-Valyrian blood in her family. When Arya was 12, she took off on Balerion, the Black Dread, the oldest dragon at the time. We don't know what she wanted to do, but it probably wasn't what actually happened. Balerion took off for Old Valyria, by now an apocalyptic wasteland. She and Balerion returned 2 years later, where she died less than a day after her arrival. You might say, well, she was 12, she wasn't old enough to claim a dragon. Perhaps, but that only proves our point that special magic blood isn't everything when it comes to dragon riding. I've seen a lot of people say something to the effect of, if Tyrion is able to claim a dragon, that proves he's a dragon seed. Or if Jon is able to claim a dragon, that's how we'll know that R plus L equals J. And I'm not disputing the amount of Targaryenness in Tyrion or Jon. Maybe you believe those things, maybe not. But I'm not convinced special magic blood from some secret evil magic from a fallen continent is all it takes to ride a dragon. That might be part of it, maybe. But as we see with poor Arya, clearly more is needed. Which brings us to Nettles. Fire and Blood doesn't relay much about Nettles. She claims the dragon Sheep Stealer, rides for the Blacks, and when Rhaenyra becomes suspicious of her remaining dragon seeds, Nettles is declared a traitor and she hides in the mountains for the rest of her life. Fire and Blood is written as a history, with many different sources cited as possible truths. Mushroom and Gildane believe Nettles was Daemon Targaryen's latest lover. Norrin says Daemon treated Nettles as one might treat a daughter. Norrin also says they shared a bathtub, and well, you know Targaryens. I've always favored the father-daughter role, minus the incest, because after George R.R. Martin said Daemon Targaryen was made of light and darkness in equal parts, a hero to some and the blackest villain to others, I wanted to see some of that light. As Fire and Blood is a history, written long after the events we're told about, it's difficult for the book to give us an honest portrayal of someone's life. And what we are told, it might be exaggerated, because maybe Gildane doesn't like Daemon. Very little in Fire and Blood is a glowing portrayal of the rogue prince, and if he decided he was tired of being faithful to his wife and wanted to move on to one of the soldiers answering to him in this war, that isn't great. Not as wholesome as if he found out he had a daughter and was just, nice to her. When Rhaenyra wanted Nettles' head delivered to her, Nettles runs away, and Daemon went to battle his nephew Aemon, knowing full well he would die. As far as the darkness and light in Daemon, you could say this is light. Maybe he was just tired of this war and realized he hitched his horse to the wrong wagon and thought death would be better than what awaited him if he survived. That isn't necessarily him being magnanimous, but he could have just as easily killed Nettles and returned to Rhaenyra and doubled down against their enemies. So there is that. Their final moments together could be as lovers or as father and daughter. It's just vague enough that it could go either way. But in my naivete, I hoped for father and daughter, as that seemed like the sort of thing that would soften this mad lad in his old age. But what if there's a third option? What if Daemon isn't strupping someone probably half his age? And what if they're not blood related? What if Daemon's getting older, and I'm getting older too, and he sees something of himself in this girl? One account says she was foul-mouthed, filthy, and fearless. Maybe Daemon sees, in another life, she could have been me, and he either doesn't want her to end up like him, or he's nurturing the very qualities that mirror his own. If she's not his daughter or his lover, just some girl he feels bad for, there's your light that balances his darkness. To take this back to our discussion on special blood needed to claim a dragon, Nettles got on Sheep Stealer's good side by bringing him sheep until he came to like her. The other dragon seeds didn't need to do this, but if Nettles was Daemon's daughter, or had any Targaryen blood, her bribing Sheep Stealer with with the sheep shouldn't have been necessary, right? Ultimately, this is a hard magic versus soft magic thing. Hard magic, there are very clearly defined rules, and you know what they are. Soft magic, it's kind of fuzzy, but it still works in a certain way. Martin definitely knows how this world works, but it's not always clearly defined. There probably is something to having the special blood needed to bond with the dragon, and some people might be a little uncomfortable with that, as it has shades of eugenics. But I suspect in the same way Frank Herbert dallied with thousands of years of eugenics to create the Kwisatz Haderach and showed that wasn't actually a good thing, Martin might be leaning in that direction as well. The blending of Northman blood and Valyrian blood may have dire consequences for the realm. We'll see. But to get back to our magic blood needed to claim a dragon, as we see with Quentyn and Arya, that's not the only way. And I've come around to thinking Nettles shows us that's not the only way either.